This is the Scorer to Follow podcast.
Welcome to the Scorer to Follow podcast with me, Mark Annals, and in front of me as usual, Dele Alli.
Hello.
And to the left, oh no, hang on a second.
He's not here.
He's not here.
Where is Neil Mundy?
Actually, Neil Mundy is going to be a dad very soon. His wife is due to give birth this time next week, so yeah, he's
binned off the pod for a week.
Well, anything can happen. We know she may come early. Who knows?
I know, but it needs to be nailed down quite early doors that the pod comes before family.
I'm not sure you can say it like that.
No, perhaps not with his firstborn. But if you have another one, Neil, I expect you to be on duty at the pod.
So yeah, just a twosome today then.
Just us. So that should be interesting.
Right.
Spurs v Arsenal.
It could be very interesting. Might be a punch up by the end of this pod.
Well, let's hope not. Although you have got a beer. Just don't attack me with it because Ben Stokes might come along and knock you out.
Yeah, very topical there. But right, we're going to talk about Crystal Palace and how they have started and their managerial situation. We're going to speak about Everton, how they've started the season. And we're going to talk about the ban that's been given to Dele Alli for his
indiscretion
during the England game, and then we're going to do a brief preview of the weekend's action.
Well, it sounds like an action-packed pod, Mark.
It does. We've got a lot to fit in. Anyway, I'm going to start with Crystal Palace. So they're already on their second manager after 6 games. De Boer came in, had 4 games, 5 in total, including the cup game.
Yeah, we'd forgotten about the cup game.
We had until just before this, the start of this pod. But yeah, come in, 4 games, 4 losses, not a goal scored, and was sacked. Have they given him long enough? I wouldn't say so.
No, I don't think so. Obviously, the whole thing is a bit odd because you wonder how the decision was made in the summer to begin with, if they had a list of 50 odd applicants that supposedly they were interviewing, to finally get the right guy, and then feel he's not the right guy after 4 games. It smacks of something is going on there behind the scenes that perhaps we don't know about.
Yeah, I don't know how they can come to that conclusion that he's not the right man after only 4 games. I mean, it's not obviously it couldn't have been any worse for them. But the fact that they've obviously, like I say, not even scored a goal in those 4 games, but still 4 games for a new manager to come in and stamp his authority on the team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he made many signings, did he? He brought in the centre half from Ajax. Was it Riedeveld, something like that? Yeah,
a couple of loan signings, weren't there?
So it's not like they handed him a big war chest to turn things round.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure what they were setting out to achieve, because if you want to change the style of a football club, which is supposedly what they were looking at before, they wanted more ball possession, to be more dangerous with the ball rather than counter-attacking. No manager's going to come in and change that in a month.
No, exactly.
I don't know whether or not. If I heard that the direction in terms of his appointment actually came from the majority shareholder rather than the chairman. So that suggests that there's like a disparity behind the scenes between the different visions for the future of the club. So I don't see how Palace can ever push on if 2 people sort of in the boardroom see things completely differently.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's never going to work. If there's disagreements in the boardroom, then you're never going to get the right man unless everybody agrees.
Is it Parish? Is that the chairman?
Yeah, Steve Parish.
Steve
Parish.
Chairman
these days, yeah.
See, I heard Ian Wright say on 5 Live a few weeks ago that he knows Steve Parish, and he said he's a football man. He knows his stuff. So it's again a really strange thing that a guy that supposedly knows the game reasonably well, he's not one of these chairmen that's sort of far removed and doesn't understand how it all works. It's odd again that you would bring this guy in who had a similar experience at Inter, against all of the other applicants, as we said, and then still only give him 4 games.
I think they've obviously looked at him and his philosophy. He obviously did well at Ajax, won a couple of championships. That got him the move to Inter. Also, we know that didn't go too well. But also, we don't really know who the other applicants were. But you look at De Boer is a big name in the world of football. So reputation alone perhaps gives him a bit of an in. I did hear that Hodgson was on the list in the summer. So. But obviously he's now taken over.
Yeah, so obviously Hodgson's now in that hot seat. But again, if he was available in the summer and sort of continuity of what they do is what they wanted, I just don't understand what's happened there in the summer.
I think what they've done, in the boardroom they've got an idea that they want to take Crystal Palace in a different direction. And they don't want to be all about sort of a long ball, and they want to get a manager in that his tactics are playing football, playing the ball about, and I think that's what they've looked for. And De Boer, he's obviously come in and tried to change that at Palace, and like you say, it's not gonna suddenly, the players are not going to be able to learn that overnight. Obviously, it hasn't started well, but I don't think it's long enough, even for the players to get used to the new sort of way of playing.
I mean, even the best managers have had ropey starts. We know obviously Sir Alex Ferguson, when he first started at United, nearly got the chop, but for a cup win and then sort of a run of games off the back of that, and obviously we all know what happened from there.
Well, he almost got the sack, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
So I just find I think it's embarrassing for Palace. I do think it's understandable that they want to change how they play. There's a lot of good football in the Premier League, and it's admirable to want to sort of be similar to that. But they're good at what they do. When Selhurst Park is rocking, and the players are coming in with heavy challenges, bursting around the counter-attack with Punchin or Townsend or Zaha, the crowd's up. It's quite a difficult place to go.
It's also we got destroyed 3-0 by them last season, and they just played their game. They were like right in our faces, and it worked.
Well, I think they should perhaps take a look at what's happened with Stoke. I mean, right, Stoke are a mid-table side, but Mark Hughes has taken over a side that Pulis had that was robust, much like what Palace were under Allardyce. And now that Hughes has got in sort of these fleet-footed players, people like Shaqiri, they've brought in people like Afellay, haven't they? And to be honest, it's probably been detrimental to Stoke in that it's no longer a fortress to go there, is it? I think
no.
So I think Palace perhaps should have considered this more.
Yes, fine.
No, I was going to say, like I say, it must be something behind the scenes for somebody to be given the bullet that quickly.
Yeah, something's. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about this, so I don't want to obviously say 100%. But I think I heard somewhere that there was actually something written into his contract that he had to play a certain way, and I think. Obviously, he's trying to do that, and I just think a lot of the players have just not got on, because the players that you've got there obviously used to playing the same way all the time, and then they've maybe some of the players there are not good enough to actually become a sort of a footballing to actually play the passing game, because we know from like you say, they got people like Punch and Zaha, Townsend, just get the ball down and just run. And obviously Balassi before that, they had a lot of players like that,
and it was I really do think that was their strength.
It was,
and with Benteke up front, you would think that those guys bursting forward and pinging balls into the box, and either Benteke scoring himself or knockdowns for people like Kabay, that on paper sounds like a recipe for reasonable success for Palace.
So exactly, spent a lot of money on him, and he's done okay. But
you've already got that makeup in your squad. You haven't spent money to change that squad to make it adapted to the style that you're now supposedly after. So surely, with that squad you've got, you have to play to those strengths. And obviously they've suffered for it because they're now bottom after 6 games with no points and, like you say, no goals.
Yeah, and to also get even worse for him, what we've just mentioned him, Benteke's done his I think he's done his knee ligaments, and he's out for 6 weeks. And I don't think Palace really have got any backup striking options at the moment. They've got a few injuries. Connor Wickham they've been out for a long time. I think he's still out for a while.
But again, he's a striker that might be able to step up and do a job for a game or two. But I don't think he's a long-term replacement for somebody like Benteke. No, absolutely not. And then I think they got rid of a couple of players in the summer. I think Fraser Campbell went, and at this moment in time, they're struggling to actually field a senior striker. Again, do you not find that odd though? They've had the whole summer with this new guy in charge, and they haven't said to him, right, obviously the philosophy is going to change. You need to get X, Y, Z players in to help adapt the squad, and that shows you how bare they are. Then that they didn't even have a secondary striker in place that could come in and play more the way that De Boer was looking to do.
Yeah, no, I didn't get that either. I mean, they may have looked at it and think, okay, we got Benteke, we got Wickham coming back. That's probably good. And they've obviously not anticipated Benteke is going to get injured this early in the season, and it's obviously out for quite a while.
It's unfortunate, but it just seems like poor planning.
It does to me. Yeah, definitely. I just think just the club as a whole, really. I think they probably needed another striker. I know they've spent a lot of money on Benteke, but they kind of need someone to obviously take the burden of him. And maybe someone like even like a small sort of like quick striker, just so they can play a little bit differently rather than obviously balls up to Benteke. But
because you mentioned to me just now before we started recording that they were supposedly interested in some free agents that are available at the moment.
I think that's what they're looking at the moment, because obviously transfer window's closed. So I think the only thing they can look at is obviously people that haven't got clubs at the moment. I think the biggest rumour at the moment is Colton Cole. We're looking at. I know, but obviously knows the Premier League.
Yeah, but
I think he's 33, 34 now, isn't he? But
no disrespect to Carlton Cole, but if your saviour is going to be Carlton Cole, I mean that's pretty low grade, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, there was I saw something the other day of just strikers that are currently free agents, and one that if I was Palace, I would have gone for. I mean, he's not got that good. You know, he's got a pretty bad injury record. But Giuseppe Rossi, who obviously former Manchester United, Villarreal, amongst others.
That sounds like. I mean, again, the injury record. You might have to get him on like a pay-as-you-play deal at first, because if he breaks down again, you've wasted a lot of wages. But that sounds like the ideal thing for Palace to bring in.
Or just sign him in a deal until January, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Let him prove himself, and then maybe sign him up permanently if he does the job.
Exactly. But
I'd bring him in over Cole. Although, having said that, I've just spent the last 10 minutes saying that Palace need to play to their strengths. So perhaps Cole is the better option.
Well, he would be the same sort of player as Benteke, and be a target man, whereas Rossi would be a sort of the plan B, as I said, isn't it? Like your small, quick striker.
So he has got some Premier League experience, but I don't think he had much before. Didn't United sell him off to Villarreal?
Yeah, when he was still quite young. I think he did play a few games in the Premier League, but yeah, obviously not a lot. So I think really they're looking obviously at who's available, and they say, oh well, Carlton Cole's got a lot of Premier League experience, and he's kind of, for the strikers we've got at the moment, Benteke and Wickham, both tall strikers, target men, and
I mean it might just dig him out of a hole.
Yeah. Well, we never know. They might sign him up, and he goes and scores in like 10 consecutive games, and
almost certain to happen now that we've just spent the last few minutes sort of denigrating him. But so they bought Roy in. to turn the fortunes around. What do you think about that?
Well, I think they've gone back to basics, really. I think they've looked at it and it's like, okay, we've gone for a gamble. We want to change how the way we play. It's not worked. We're in a really bad position. We need to just go back to basics at this moment in time. So I think they've looked at Hodgson, former England manager, the wealth of experience he's got, obviously managed in the Premier League as well, and just all around Europe. I think it's a good choice, but they haven't done any favours about the time they've brought him in with the games. He's had 3 games, including a cup game that they won, but the 2 league games they've played, lost both of them and not scored a goal. What's happened to De Boer, and if Hodgson gets 4 games as well, their next 2 games against Chelsea and Manchester United.
Oh, so if they lost both of those as well, is he going to be out the door as well at the end of the month? Is that?
Well, you'd ask the question, wouldn't you? You say De Boer only got 4 games, no wins and no goals scored. If Hodgson loses the next 2 games without any goals scored, then they're on par, really, aren't they?
I feel like I need to channel my inner Neil, because I know if Neil was here, he would be very vocal about his opinions on Roy Hodgson. But because he's not, let's sort of try and look at the positives. He did a reasonable job at West Brom, kept them sort of comfortable. Took a long time ago, but took Fulham to a UEFA Cup final, as it was still then, I think. Might have been Europa League. I'm not sure if it changed.
It was. It would have been UEFA back then.
Still UEFA, wasn't it? So it's that long ago. But so he has got pedigree in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
The England thing, I don't really think we can judge him on, because prior to going into that tournament, I actually think England played some reasonable football, despite what people sort of might tarnish him with after the Iceland debacle. But he might just surprise people. I think he might just make Palace into a better side. He'll make them better defensively straight away, I guess. Yeah,
I think because really you have a look at people that you want people to managers out there that can get clubs out of trouble. Obviously, the obvious choice would be, well, you look at Allardyce, but obviously Allardyce has already been there and done that.
Hasn't he technically retired as well anyway? Or do you believe that?
I don't know. He said that, but then apparently he said the other week that I think he got asked about obviously going back to Palace, and he just said, it's not the right time for me to come back into management. And I was thinking, hang on a second, didn't you quit Palace and retired from football?
You know why this is, though, don't you? When he does eventually come back, he's going to have regrown that great big tash that he had in like the late 90s.
Oh, I hope he does.
Comes back as Sam with a big tash.
Yeah.
And everybody will love him again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But so, what do we think is going to happen to Palace over the next few weeks? I mean, we expect them to get beaten in the 2 games with Chelsea and United.
Yeah, I think Hodgson's saving grace is going to be that. Well, obviously one of the 2 games they have lost was against Manchester City, 5-0. Obviously not. It was a complete thrashing, but you look at those games and you would expect Crystal Palace to lose against City like they did. Well, maybe not 5-0, but lose the game, which they did lose the game. And you don't expect them to get really anything out of United or Chelsea either. So I think if they do lose both of those games, Hodgson won't be sacked. So the game they've got after that is Newcastle. Not an easy game at St James's as well, but it's a game really you look at, they could get a result.
I mean, it might surprise us, like we say, and pick up a goal or a point at one of those fixtures that you'd expect them to get beaten. But if we look at the Newcastle game as their next realistic opportunity, if they don't then pick up a point there, I mean, at what point,
I think these next 2 games for Hodgson are just basically, they're just not
a free swing, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think he's not going to be judged in these next 2 games. I think anything after that, I think the Newcastle game, if they lose that, then I think he'd be under pressure.
And I assume, should he still be there at Christmas, I assume they'll let him go out and get a couple of players.
Yeah. Well, definitely need a striker. We know that now, don't we? So, but it'd be interesting to see if they do bring someone in on a free transfer. But Yeah, I think they're I can't remember his name actually, but I think the striker they've got in reserve that's meant to be making a step up is a striker they bought from non-league a few years ago who's never played for the first team at the moment. So had a loan spell in the Football League last season where I think he scored something like 2 goals.
Might be the next Ian Wright.
Could be.
He came from non-league, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
So you never know.
You do never know. I think Palace have done that quite a few times in the past. Got players from non-league, but we'll see.
If I'm honest, if I was a Palace fan, although it looks bad at the moment, I wouldn't despair too much because
it's only 6 games in.
It's 6 games in, and although the results haven't been great,
yeah,
with the exception of the battering they took at home to Huddersfield on the first day,
yeah,
which isn't the ideal start,
and obviously the City game as well.
The City game, which could happen to anyone.
Yeah,
I think they lost a 1-0 at Liverpool.
Yeah,
that could quite easily have been a point.
Mhm. Yeah.
I watched most of the game where they lost at Burnley.
Mm-hmm.
They were the better side throughout and should have scored 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's a results business, and ultimately they didn't get those results, and so this is why they are where they are. But I honestly think that there's some glimmer in there that they can cling on to. I think they've played well enough in some games that I can see a reason why they should be positive and that they can push up the league once they get a couple of results.
It's not scoring goals though. That's a problem.
Well,
where they're going to get a goal from?
Yeah. Well, Carlton Cole apparently.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what comes about that. But yeah, I think that the fact that there's 32. There's obviously a long way to go. 32 games still to go. So I think that there's no point to be too worried at the moment. But yeah, like I say, it's not been a good start. I think it's I'm not sure of how many years, but it might even be in Premier League history actually the worst start to a Premier League season.
It must be no points and no goals. I mean,
yes, for a team in the Premier League era. So
even that dreadful Derby County team, I think, must have had a point by now.
Yeah, well, they've got like 11 points or something.
And that had Robbie Savage in it, didn't it?
May have.
I think that Derby County team had Robbie Savage in it.
It did play for Derby, whether or not it was then, but.
Well. So, I mean, from one Dutch manager losing his job at a struggling Palace to Everton, we have another Dutch manager
under pressure.
Yeah, and he has spent a lot,
certainly
compared to De Boer. So, what have we got here? We've got that. Well, I said to you that I think the money they got from Lukaku, they've done a bit of what Spurs did 3 or 4 years ago when they sold Bale.
Yeah.
They've got players in knowing the Bale money, or the Lukaku money in this instance, was coming, and they've shopped around and they've got some good players. And on paper, I've got to admit, as they were building this squad over the summer, I was quite impressed. I mean, I thought Jordan Pickford was a good pickup. Yeah. I thought Keane was probably a good pickup, although I did think he was a little overrated.
I'm not sure overrated. I think the money he went for was probably a little bit too much.
Trouble is in this market, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
But and then obviously Sigurdsson, Premier League class. You know what you're going to get from him, and then Rooney too, just to top it off.
Yeah.
Although squads can take a while to gel, I was expecting better. I think. Is it too early to judge Koeman and Everton then? If we're saying it was too early to judge De Boer?
I think so. Like I say, he's bought 6 or 7 new players there, and to get them all bedded in, I think it is going to take time. I mean, I think out of all of them, I mean, obviously Wayne Rooney, obviously coming back to Everton, I think he's the one who's probably to settle in the most. Sigurdsson, obviously Premier League. He's played in the Premier League before, so he's got the experience to do that. But the only thing with him, obviously, he was good the first time when at Swansea. Obviously, he got a big move to Tottenham. It didn't really happen for him. Went back to Swansea, was good again, and now obviously he's gone to Everton. I think with when it comes to him at Swansea, he was obviously in his comfort zone and he was the main man there. Whereas at Tottenham he wasn't. At Everton he's not really going to be either. And he's obviously got ability, but like I say, it's not really happened. Along with all the other players they've signed at the moment, they are struggling a bit.
I think with Sigurdsson,
Yeah.
Pochettino said when Sigurdsson was sort of essentially back on the market this summer that his biggest regret was selling him. I think he said actually in hindsight he sort of wished he'd kept him around the club.
Yeah.
Whether he'd get a look in now or not, not sure.
Yeah,
but
Dele Alli now, isn't it? So
Dele Alli and Son can play there, and you've got Christian Eriksen. So, but I just wonder with the players that Everton have brought in. Last year, they had a lot of youth players come in.
Yeah.
So who did we see? So you've got Pennington's the one I remember.
Yeah, he's gone on loan this season.
He's gone on loan. You've got the two lads that have gone on loan to Sunderland. I think they're a couple of wing backs.
Yeah, Browning and Galloway in there. Yeah.
Who again, when I saw them in patches for Everton last season, thought they looked quite strong for youngsters.
Yep.
And then obviously you've got the fact that Ross Barkley, although injured, was likely to not play for Everton because the club want rid because he's in the last year of his contract.
Yeah.
Player probably wants out, it seems, to either Spurs or Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder actually, even though those players as a unit probably seem weaker on paper because there's a lot of youngsters, I wonder if Everton were actually stronger as a team with those youngsters and throw Barkley in than with all these players they've added.
Yeah. You can't agree because we all know about youngsters, all very eager to make the mark on the team. I mean, out of those youngsters that came in last season, two of them kind of are around about the team. Obviously, Tom Davies and Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
They're both in and around. So they got their son Lookman, he's sort of been on the bench. Sort of a bit difficult for him because they've signed a lot of attacking players.
Well, they said. I mean, there was talk that they didn't quite get the out-and-out striker they wanted in the summer to replace Lukaku.
Yeah.
But they have got Rooney, Sandro Ramirez,
and
Vlasic.
Yeah.
And the lad that you just mentioned there, the youngster.
Calvert-Lewin, yeah.
So they have got options.
Yeah, and obviously I wanted to say Lookman as well, who also could play there as well. So yeah, they have got the option. I think obviously what they had in Lukaku was a big target man centre forward where they could play the ball up to. He could hold it off. He was obviously scored goals, all the goals he did. And I think obviously what they've got at the moment, Wayne Rooney is not obviously as prolific as he once was. Sandro Ramirez scored quite a few goals in Spain last year, but I don't think he got to 20 goals. I think he was in double figures.
I think it was double. Was it Malaga he was at?
Yeah. I think he got to double figures. Vlasic, young player, just come in.
I think they bought him off the strength of how he performed against them, though.
Yeah, against Hadrick Split, wasn't it?
That signing almost felt like, well, we need to bring in another striker. This lad did alright against us. He's not going to cost much in terms of a fee.
Yeah.
Let's take a punt. But I just feel like if you were going to do that, play Lookman.
That's right, yeah. But I think what they want is more of a... Because I think they looked at... apparently they looked at Giroud in the summer, interested in signing him in, and they decided he wanted to stay at Arsenal. There was talk right at the end of the window that they were maybe looking at Diego Costa. But
I love these sorts of rumours. I mean, it might have worked for him to go on loan there for 6 months, to be honest, because then he could have just gone straight back to Spain at Christmas. But I don't know. I always wonder sometimes with these transfer stories whether it's just sort of speculative to keep the fans happy. Yeah. Like West Ham do that every year. They're always linked with a couple of superstars, and then they end up with nothing of real note. Yeah, so I think it was pretty evident by those sort of players that they're linked with what sort of striker they wanted. But obviously it's still early days at the moment, but certainly the last couple of games that they've played, apart from their midweek European game, because this player I'm just going to say about was actually left out of the Europa League squad, so he couldn't actually play anyway. But Omanias, who Roberto Martinez signed. This is a funny story. Really.
And then got sacked pretty quickly afterwards. Ronald Koeman froze him out of the squad completely. Didn't give him a squad number. Got him to train with the under-23s. Didn't even have a locker at the training ground. Obviously had a loan spell at Hull last season, did all right. Tried to sell him on the last day of the transfer window to Paris, didn't go through. So they were stuck with him, and obviously they've been struggling to score goals a little bit, and they played him in a League Cup game where he scored the winner. So he was on the bench for their last league game, losing 1-0 against Bournemouth. Sorry, but bring him on as sub, scores 2 goals, and they win the game. Now
it sounds like something Royal Rovers.
Yeah, exactly. If I was, it looks like Nias has been pretty good about it. But if I was him, I'd be going to Koeman. It's like, in your face, really. You've treated me like this, and now you've come back. Like you've come back to me and just said, look, we need you.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I did hear a story today that as well as not having a locker at the training ground, the club didn't issue him with a club suit. So when he was interviewed by the press, I don't know if it was after the European game or after Bournemouth, he couldn't do the interview. He had to go and get a club suit.
Yeah, get a track suit, isn't it? Before you can do it. Yeah.
So I mean, again, just you wonder what goes on at clubs sometimes. When fans say they think they know more than a manager.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's true by any means. I mean, we think we do, others we wouldn't do this pod, I suppose. But it does seem strange. You've got a striker there. He's quite a big guy. He's pacey. He's strong.
He's proven he can score goals. So that's why, obviously, when Martinet signed him, I think he was the best player in the Russian league that year. And
that's right.
He'd scored a lot of goals in the Russian league. I know the Premier League's different, but it still proves he can score goals.
I mean, even if people wanted to tag him as like a poor man's Lukaku, and he wasn't quite up to that standard, which he probably isn't.
No, but if he can do the job.
But yeah, so which again, you sort of think, well, you had him there, you haven't seen what this guy's about, and yet you've gone out and bought Vlasic.
Yeah.
You've got, you've bought in Rooney, which feels more sentimental than anything now, to be honest. I think he's more than capable still.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But as for if you're trying to grow a club and you're trying to sort of bridge that gap to the top 4, I suppose he's got the winning mentality that gets spoken about a lot, but I don't know if I'd have bought Rooney back. What do you think? Do you think that was a good move to bring him back?
I think he can. I do kind of think it is more to do with more of a sentimental thing as well. Sort of, bringing him back home, as you would say. I mean, he's only 31. He can still do a job, and we can see he scored a couple of goals already this season.
Yeah.
So he can still do a job, but he's no way the player that he once was. I'll just say no way the player that he was when Everton first sold him. But obviously that was like 12 years ago. So he went from a teenager now to coming to sort of like the twilight of his career, really.
I mean, it's a nice story that happened in the summer, and it was good to see it come full circle.
Yeah.
But football generally doesn't have time for sentimentality, and it doesn't often work out when people return. A bit like, say, when Dalglish went back to Liverpool, for example.
Yeah.
Often it's best left alone and having those memories.
Yeah, because you can easily ruin your legacy, isn't it? It's come back.
Exactly. And I just think, although Rooney might be able to do a job, this talk that, perhaps he was brought in as the winning mentality in the dressing room and he can lift the team and such when they need him. Mm-hmm. I did hear somebody... a journalist that I follow say the other day, well, where was that mentality when he was needed perhaps in the England squad as captain? Well, because don't get me wrong, no one man can be responsible for a whole team underperforming.
No.
So I'm not trying to lay blame at his door, but what I'm trying to say is if he supposedly has sort of that captaincy, that ability to kind of lift games himself and lift squads himself, can't say you could. I don't think you could say that you'd witnessed that in England teams that he'd captained.
No.
Whereas, perhaps with a David Beckham, I think you probably could argue that. I mean, he often picked England up by the scruff of the neck on his own.
Oh yeah. Important goals he scored and everything.
Yeah. And the way he used to put himself about on the pitch, leading by example. I never really got that same impression with Rooney, and that again, I don't mean to disrespect the guy because obviously he's our leading goal scorer and obviously was a fantastic player. I'm not trying to say otherwise, but as for whether or not you bring him in to help strive towards reaching the top 4, I'm really not sure that he was the right move.
No, I think they might have. Because we've also already talked about Everton, and they've got a lot of good young players sort of in and around the first team, and they've maybe thought, okay, one thing, we get Rooney back, he can still do a job for us, but also, some of the young players can learn from him. Maybe not from obviously him getting arrested for drink driving recently. That's a prime example of, again, he is a little bit of a loose cannon. I think he's calmed down a bit, but that's not. You come to a new club, and in the first sort of few weeks of the season, you're caught out.
I mean, it's a mistake, and I suppose we all do them. But I think, again, I feel like perhaps he's taken advantage of the fact he's gone back to Everton. He's like the big man there now, and perhaps he can push his luck a little bit. I don't know. I'm speculating, but I just don't think it was the right move to bring him back. But as for Everton as a whole, do you think they'll climb the table? Do you think can they expect a run to the top 6 or the top 4? Because that's what the fans are expecting after spending that money.
I think that they're probably looking at finishing around where they did last season. Was it 7th?
They were best of the rest.
Yeah. Which I think probably again just because of the fact that they've had a mixed start, haven't they? And I think that it's going to take time for their players to bed in. I mean, they've bought well on paper. I think we said that they bought some players that have done well in their respective club, their former clubs and leagues. As like Klassen and scored a lot of goals and was I think he was captain as well when he was for Ajax.
Klassen was.
Yeah. So so you've obviously bought experience. He's a young player still, Klassen, but he's also got a lot of experience.
He's been singled out by some journalists recently as perhaps not being the player that Everton thought they were getting and not quite being up to it. But that's the risk you get sometimes when you're buying players from, well, particularly the Dutch league and the French league.
Well, I thought Klassen was more of a number 10 sort of player, but they're not really playing him there. They're playing Sigurdsson there instead. So maybe they're just not playing to his strengths.
But then they're overstocked there, aren't they? Because if they've got Sigurdsson there, Rooney's also probably going to play there rather than a deeper midfield role. So you've got 3 first team stars all vying for that one position. It's good to have strength in depth, but they've kind of got 3 players there, and then they still don't have the striker they wanted up in front of that. So it strikes me as a good.
But if they've got like 3 players and all of them have just come into the club, then how are any of them going to establish themselves? Trying to establish themselves in the team.
Yeah, because they'll have to keep chopping and changing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think they will come good with the players they've bought, but I just don't think they're playing as a team. There's a lot of like individuals at the moment.
I think, just to finish on Everton, you look at their sort of, they're currently 14th in the Premier League, 7 points. I mean, that is only 3 points and 1 win behind sort of Arsenal in 7th, in fairness. So it's not like they're already cut adrift from the aspirations of being in the top 6.
No, I think bar obviously the 2 Manchester clubs at the moment, I think apart from that, it's all still pretty close.
Yeah.
At the moment, they're definitely, the fact they're down in 14th at the moment, with only 2 wins from 6 games, I don't think, any way they are out of the reckoning.
I when you take into consideration their Europa League form as well, though, I mean, they got battered in Italy.
Yeah,
and then only managed a point against a 10-man Cypriot side last night.
Yeah, I was watching that game actually, and they looked pretty decent. To be honest, they went behind a bad mistake by Ashley Williams, but then there was a bad mistake by one of the Limassol? Limassol players, and which led to the Rooney's goal. But yeah, they were 2-1 up. Limassol had a player sent off, so you think, okay, yeah, that's
a few minutes to go.
Yeah, a few minutes to go, and then pretty much a straight off that, couple of minutes after that, they conceded to make it 2-2.
Yeah, see,
you should see out the game. 10 men, 2-1 up.
That's again. I guess they'll learn from that experience.
Yeah.
But again, if you talk, was Rooney still on the pitch at that point?
I don't think he was, but don't quote me on that. I can't actually remember now. Yeah, I think he came off for. I can't actually remember now, but yeah, he may have been on the pitch. He may not have been on the pitch,
Okay.
but yeah, it was just a simple goal. It was a ball into the box, and someone got a glancing header. And nobody went with him, and yeah, it was in the goal.
Yes, it seems naive more than anything else.
Yeah.
Thinking the game's probably won.
Yeah, you got it.
Switching off.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, they've switched off and they've been punished, and I think that's just happened too much this season with Everton. They've switched off and been punished.
So just to finish then on that, do you think how long does Koeman get? Because I think we agree he's probably under pressure the way football is now.
Yeah.
So if Everton are mid-table after 10 games are still a bit patchy, does that keep him in a job, or is it a case of he has to win the next few? Or?
I think he needs to put a run of wins together to really get just everybody off his back at the moment, because everyone is just looking at him at the moment, and obviously just judging him by they spent all that money and they've got some iffy results. But yeah, if he can put a run of a couple of wins together, then I think it's going to change. Like the press and everything are going to be a little less.
I think we're going to do a feature show in a few weeks about how the press kind of play this game of where they highlight the stresses and strains of one particular club and then the toil at another club. And I know that Neil's quite keen on that, so look forward to having Neil back for that one. Yep. In a few weeks' time. Should we move on to this ridiculous Dele Alli ban?
Yeah, all right then.
How do you feel about this ban?
It's a difficult one for me, actually. To see that he got a 1-game ban, I did actually think that it was going to be worse than that. I thought he might get a 3-game ban, but
so I suppose, sorry, for anyone that doesn't know, Dele Alli was playing for England in a qualifier.
Yeah.
He's been caught on the camera raising his middle finger. It was deemed at the time, it was thought that it was probably at the referee, but afterwards he immediately came out on Twitter and said it was actually a joke between me and Carl Walker.
And then Carl Walker came out and just said, yeah, it was.
And then FIFA said, well, what was the UEFA? I'm not sure, but they needed to then investigate.
Yeah. Like I say, it's a tough one because, okay, it's a bit of banter really between two teammates, but the fact that television cameras were there and it's actually been caught on the cameras, if any kids are watching then as well, it's not, it doesn't look good. They're really, the footballers are role models for little kids growing up, want to be footballers and stuff like that. So I mean, if it is just a joke between Ali and Walker, then yeah, fair enough. It's just just a bit of banter. But if you're looking at it from the outside, and it could you could say that, well, he's saying that, but then he's told, okay, you got to get my back. You got to say that it was, and FIFA or UEFA who've investigated it have just said, well, we don't really know, do we? He's stuck up his middle finger. It's been caught on camera. Doesn't really matter who it's gone towards. He's stuck out his middle finger, and it's not good. So I think that's how they've probably looked at it. But yeah, I think if it is just between two teammates, then fair enough. But you got to understand how FIFA or whatever have sort of looked at it, how they've looked at it, how they come to the decision.
Yeah, I mean, as a governing body, they've got to set an example.
Yeah.
You could argue it's a bit petty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my point of it is he's a Spurs player, and it doesn't change anything as to how I feel about it. I think it was naive, and I think it was stupid. I don't think it's an action that belongs, as part of you performing for your national side on telly.
Yeah.
Like you say, there's lots of people watching, particularly lots of kids.
Yeah. In the stadium as well.
And they might go away thinking it was cool to do that, because I'll be honest, I didn't necessarily buy this idea that it was a Carl Walker, because I think wasn't Ali looking for a free kick at the time?
It was just after. He didn't get a decision, wasn't it? So it would have kind of, if he was doing it to the ref, it would have kind of made sense.
Yeah, and so I put 2 and 2 together and came up with that.
Yeah,
I'm sure others did. I'm sure FIFA or UEFA probably aren't stupid. I'm not trying to say Dele Alli's lying, but you could equally believe that it probably was at the referee. I think most fans probably think it was.
Yeah.
And it's just something I think he needs to stop. I mean, people talk about him having this kind of spiteful side in his game, and that you wouldn't want to take it away.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't.
No.
But in all honesty, his performances this season haven't been great. And when your form's dipping just a little from that sort of peak you were at, you don't need attention for things like this.
No, but it might be a case that it's just a bit of frustration as well. Like I said, if he's not quite on his game and stuff's not going for him, he's just got a little bit frustrated. But yeah, no, I think obviously what you just said, that it was silly. It's a bit naive. I think that describes it perfect, really. I think how FIFA or UEFA how they've come about it. They've just looked at it and just thought, well, we don't know for sure if it's to the ref or if it's to his teammate. What we'll do, we'll give you, we need to see when we're doing something. So we won't give you a long ban. We'll just give you a 1 game ban. And I think that's probably how they've come to the decision of a 1 game ban, that they can't prove either way.
It was FIFA that put the ban in place,
and
it was £3,850 fine as well, which I don't know whether England could pay that or whether it's covered by the player themselves at that level, but it's nothing either way, is it? It's almost pointless.
Yeah, he's going to miss the next qualifier, isn't it? But there was a fear that if he got more than a 3 game ban or more, he was going to miss as a start. Well, obviously, if we qualified the start of the World Cup.
Yeah, and what a silly thing that would have been.
Yeah,
but I have to say, much as I can understand why FIFA have done it, I would also argue that, as we spoke about earlier, it's quite common to catch players on camera at Premier League games or Football League games on telly every weekend, mouthing off either at other players, the referee, or quite commonly the refereeing assistants. That always seems to get caught on there. Yeah. And although it's only swearing, and you have to probably be able to lip read on occasion, I don't see that the silly finger is any more of a reason to suspend somebody for 1 game than being caught on camera swearing in the face of an official. Yeah. Now, I know football's a passionate game, and you've played, I've played, not to that sort of standard, obviously, and passions do boil over, and you do get moments where you might swear or get involved in a scuffle or whatever. But at that level, with the cameras on the players 24/7, if Dele Alli's going to get a game ban internationally for that action, are you going to get to a point where players are going to start getting sort of retrospective bans when they can look back on video after games now and say, well, we know that such and such said this, we know that such and such said that at an official? Yeah.
Well, I think if it's just... it depends, obviously, when it comes to the swearing thing. If if players have been, if they've been racist or they've been, it's sort of like personal abuse to that player. I think if you just you're just saying swear words about a decision, it's a difficult one, because I think that if players just obviously a decision's not gone through and they go up and just swear in the ref's face at grassroots football, like when I played Sunday League myself, that we got said basically, if you swear at the ref, you'll be sent off. But I don't think that would ever happen. They did say, didn't they, that they book anyone for bad mouthing, bad language at the rest, but that doesn't happen at all. Really.
I think by the book, you can be sent off for foul and abusive language and booked for dissent.
Yeah, but
that is often let slide. I mean, the amount of times you see a player swearing at a linesman for getting a corner wrong or throwing wrong or whatever.
But then it's just taking a dissent, isn't it, really? And you might get a yellow card. good to see. But
I just wonder whether or not if you can ban somebody for raising their finger. I mean, that is essentially a dissenting action.
Yeah.
But is it borderline between dissenting and foul and abusive? I don't know. I just think there's a debate there as to whether or not that one game ban was really necessary, unless they were just setting an example.
I think it's more to do with that. I think they've got to just set an example. Because, like I say, if they don't do anything, then they would have, FIFA would have just got. I'm sure they would have got a lot of a comeback to them, just criticising them for not doing anything. So I think they probably looked at it and was like, okay, he's done it. He shouldn't have done it. It's only this. We need to look like we're doing something, so we'll give him a 1 game ban. That they are. We've set a punishment.
So I think we can sort of probably agree that it was the best action they could take.
Yeah, I think that even though I did think that the ban could be more, I think a 1 game ban is fair. I think it's pretty fair. So,
well, it's good to debate these things.
Definitely.
Unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about on that particular topic, I suppose.
No, should we just go on to have a quick look at the weekend's action?
Yes, that sounds like fun. Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'll start then. So Huddersfield at playing Tottenham. Makes sense for me to jump on this one.
Yep.
I think Spurs are currently on their Premier League record run of away wins. I think if they beat Huddersfield, it'll be 6. I think they probably will beat Huddersfield.
Yeah, Huddersfield started decently, haven't they? They've got 4 clean sheets in 6 games.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed with them because I was one of those that really did think that they would struggle.
Yeah.
So fair play to them, and I hope they continue to do well, just not this weekend. But I just think Tottenham, their luck will run out eventually away from home, but I just think this weekend they'll probably have too much.
Yeah, Harry Kane's on form again.
He is. I think
you'll have too much for him. I think it'd be a tight game. I don't think it'd be a thrashing. I'd probably say that a couple of goals in it at the very most, but maybe 1 goal in it.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, Tottenham aren't demolishing teams at the moment by any means. So, yeah, a couple of goals, probably one towards the end, just to seal it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So next we got Bournemouth against Leicester. Bournemouth haven't started brilliantly, but obviously back at home where they tend to do quite well at the Vitality. Leicester have not started too badly.
Can never call a Leicester game at the moment.
No. I think it'd be. I fancy Leicester to get a win on that one.
Do you?
Yeah, I think it could easily be a draw, but I fancy Leicester by the odd goal.
So could potentially heap more pressure on Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see. I certainly think there'll be goals there, so it'll probably be 0-0 now.
Yeah.
Okay, so Manchester United Palace.
I think there'll be goals on that one.
Yeah. I'm assuming one-sided.
I'm going to say, even though United haven't really had much of a test this season so far, I don't think. They're obviously their last game, who did they play last game? It was a draw. Was it Swansea?
No, they beat Southampton 1-0 away. It's their last league game.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. Oh, was it a cup game that they drew? They drew a game recently.
No, they drew at Stoke.
Yeah, Stoke. That was it.
They drew at Stoke.
That was the game before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. But yeah, obviously.
Admin on air, listeners.
But they've obviously had a few 4-0 wins already this season, but being 1-0 right to the end, and then teams are falling apart, and they've got a few more.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to them actually taking on one of the big boys just to see exactly where they're at, because they do seem Mourinho-esque at the moment.
Lukaku's obviously on form, but they've lost Pogba for a long-term injury. So,
but they've got a deep squad.
They have. I can't see any other result, but United win by 0, should we say? Because I don't think Palace will score.
Yeah, I I think of the next couple of games that Palace have got, I think they're more likely to nick one off of Chelsea, but I don't think it will be the one ping that they got this week. You don't tend to get back-to-back results of that nature, so I think there'll probably just be a couple of goals in it again.
Yeah.
So, so full house there for United to beat Palace. Perhaps no surprise. Stoke, Southampton. Again, toss a coin.
I would say, I think I'm going to go for, because Southampton haven't started too well, not really scoring goals. I think it's going to be, Stoke at home. I fancy Stoke to get by the odd goal again.
I was going to say by the odd goal, so I mean that could even be like a turgid 1-0.
Yeah. I think that's a good shout. 1-0. I think.
Yeah. Super Sixers.
Yep.
Get that down. So you've got West Brom Watford.
Yeah. West Brom Watford, which Watford have actually started very well, and West Brom. Well, you kind of know what you get. They weren't very good. Well, I suppose they were a bit unlucky in the end against us. Should have had a penalty in the first half.
Oh, really?
Didn't get it. It was pretty much a stonewall penalty. Pretty much the ref didn't give it.
Did Arsene Wenger take note of that? Because he always says about the fact that you concede penalties but never get penalties. So has he noted what's gone on so far this season?
Probably, but
probably not.
But they were a bit unlucky at that. But after they didn't get the penalty, we went 1-0 up. They were in the second half. They were a bit dangerous first half, and then second half they sort of faded away, and we got the other goal. I think Watford might get a result in that one, just because they're playing well at the moment.
Yeah, they do seem to be on form. West Brom at home though,
tough to break down.
Don't leak many there generally. Again, that might be my first draw of the weekend. I might go for a draw there.
Yep.
West Ham Swansea. I want Swansea to win this, and again West Ham. I still don't really feel like they've made that sort of white elephant of a ground their home yet.
No.
I mean, I obviously watched Tottenham play West Ham last weekend, and although they were in it at the end when we were panicking, once the game sort of settled down into a rhythm, Spurs were comfortably better, really.
Yeah.
So, just haven't seen West Ham turn it on enough, unless it's under the lights. If it's a night game, I fancy them, but again, you wouldn't be surprised to see Swansea nick a win.
I'm actually going to go for. I think a West Ham will get a go for the win. Just the fact I know. Obviously, you said that they've not made the Olympic Stadium their own, but I do fancy them to Swansea not scoring a lot of goals at the moment, and it depends who West Ham play. But also they've got Andy Carroll back now, who could. Is
Antonio out? Is he still injured?
Antonio's out, but they got. I think they got Arnautovic coming back though, haven't they? He can play there. He come back from his ban because he got sent off, didn't he?
And Lanzini still out.
Lanzini's still out, but they've still got obviously they've got Hernandez, they've got Ayew, so they've got enough, I think, up front.
They've got something there, West Ham. I think if they ever catch fire, they'd be dangerous, but
it just doesn't seem to happen, does it?
Just can't put it together, no. Okay, so. We've both gone different ways there.
Yeah.
Big one. Forgot about this.
Chelsea City, yeah.
Are you going to sit and watch that? I might watch that.
I might do.
I'm not doing a lot tomorrow, I don't think, so I might spend a bit of time with that. Any thoughts?
Well, I think really it's got a draw written all over it, hasn't it, really?
But an open, free-flowing draw or a tight affair?
3-3. No, I don't think. I think
so. It'd be worth watching then.
Yeah, I think they both might cancel each other out. I think it might just be like 1-1. City obviously scoring for fun at the moment. Morata on form for Chelsea. Both teams are scoring lots of goals at the moment.
Be a good defensive test for both.
Yeah.
Because obviously since Chelsea got beaten by Burnley, they've tightened things up, gone on a bit of a run. City haven't really been tested yet, and when they were by Liverpool, I know the result didn't suggest it, but obviously prior to the sending off of Mane, Liverpool were probably the better side. So you could it depends. I think it depends which one's defence stands up best on the day.
I think Chelsea's still missing David Luiz, isn't it, through a suspension.
So Christensen will step in again, will he?
Yeah, I guess him or was it Rudiger, the other one?
Is he back? Is he available?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, they've been playing Christensen, haven't they, so far? And we were in a city of. I know they've lost Aguero up front, but obviously they've got a wealth of talent up there, haven't they? They've got Jesus, who still play there. They've got like I say, got Sterling, Sane, De Bruyne, both the Silvas, Bernardo and David Silva.
They've got goals from everywhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And but yeah, also they've lost Benjamin Mendy for most of the season.
I love his Twitter account.
Yeah, he does like a tweet, doesn't he?
For anyone that hasn't bothered, obviously for players of other clubs, you've got to get on that. Benjamin Mendy's Twitter account's there.
But yeah, he's missing. But obviously, the strength that City have got, they're probably Danilo recovering at left back.
You'd assume so.
So, and he's no sort of inexperienced player, is he? So yeah, I'm gonna say a 1-1 draw. I think on that.
Sitting on the fence with the draw, eh?
Definitely, yeah.
I can't pick because both sides are in good form. Like I say, City were unlocked a few times by Liverpool, but Chelsea don't really have that searing pace that Liverpool had. So yeah, perhaps I think I probably agree with you on the whole. I think it's likely to be one of those sort of tea time draws that suits both sides. Really.
Yeah.
So that brings us quickly on to Sunday then. Although I've managed to not actually bring it up on the screen properly.
3 games.
Let's start with your mob.
Yep.
That's got home banker, hasn't it? Surely that could be 3 or 4. Arsenal, Brighton. This is.
It could be, but these are the teams that we slip up. We tend to slip up against, at home against. You thought, it's a home banker, but Brighton are missing their main striker, Hamed. Is it
Tomer Hamed?
Yeah, Tomer Hamed. He's been retrospectively banned, didn't he? For
did he stamp on someone?
Yeah.
Was it intentional? I didn't see it. So
it looked quite intentional. He denied it, but he's been charged and given a 3-game ban. So he's going to be missing. So I think they're a bit short when it comes to their strike force. I think they've got a few injuries. So
again, struggle to get goals.
Yeah. So you would say on paper, I should imagine we bring back all our big guns. As in midweek we rested most of them. So
in your Europa League win.
Yeah, we played a few youngsters in that. Only out of the players that were likely to play at the weekend are it's probably Mustafi. He was the only person that started. You say would probably start at the weekend. So people like Lacazette, Sanchez, Ozil, Ramsey, etc. None of them travelled. So I think they'll all be fresh and brought back for the weekend. So I think I have to say it'd be a home banker, but I never like to say for Arsenal that it is going to be a straightforward game. So I'm going to go for an Arsenal win, but I think it would be tight, maybe by the odd goal.
Right, 2-0. I'm going to go 4-0 and a Giroud hat-trick. I just think that they'll just have far too much for Brighton.
Mm-hmm.
So just quickly then, Everton, Burnley. I think it might finally be a little bit of relief.
Yeah, Burnley obviously not the team. I think. I don't think that they are as tight as they were last season. I didn't let a lot of goals in, so I think Everton winning that, I reckon.
Yeah. Okay. And so finally, again, quite a big game, the Rafa Benitez derby, Newcastle United v Liverpool.
I think you've got to go for. I don't know. It'd be a good game, but I think that Liverpool have too much. It would be a hostile atmosphere at St James's like it usually is, but I think that Liverpool have too much.
Yeah, I mean, they're due to get a result again, aren't they, Liverpool?
Yeah.
I think that it's difficult because you don't know what Newcastle are going to turn up, but on the whole, because they've had a bit of a run recently. I think they moved up into sort of the top half of the league.
Yeah, had a few decent results, haven't they?
But I'm not sure how they turn up against the big boys particularly.
But then again, Liverpool's defence is just getting shot at the moment, and they're not defending well at the moment. But going forward, also, they're always going to score goals, but it depends how well they defend.
I'm trying to think who might be sort of the key threat for Newcastle. I don't know, who do they play up front? Is it still Dwight Gale and Hosselu?
Well, I think just Hosselu at the moment. They're playing one up front. Dwight Gale on the bench. I've also got Mitrovic to come back as well. But yeah, I think I would. To be honest, if I was Rafa Benitez, I'd play Dwight Gale against Liverpool, just because obviously
he's a pest.
Yeah, he is, and he's obviously had a good. He's got a good record against Liverpool. Yeah, well. Remember that game against...
the 3-3?
Yeah, the 3-3. He come on a sub and scored twice, didn't he? Where they pretty much lost the league.
You've just given any Liverpool fans that listen to this nightmares thinking about Dwight Gale for a start. But
the thing is, I don't think he played because I think Benitez seems pretty settled with Hosselu out there at the moment.
He's probably a bigger threat. I mean, coming up against Dan Lovren and Matip, obviously, like you mentioned, their defence seems very unsettled at the moment, nervy.
They keep changing it though, isn't it? Klopp seems to keep... The centre-backs stay the same, but he keeps changing his wing-backs.
He does.
Yeah,
because they've obviously got Robertson, who hasn't really had much of a look in since he moved there.
No, they've also been favouring Alberto Moreno.
Really strange. Out of favour all of last season, and then all of a sudden he seems to be the regular first choice.
And obviously James Milner can play there as well.
Yeah, James Milner's kind of like the ultimate utility player these days, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
It just depends. You said it can be hostile at St James's Park. If Newcastle were to score first and
Liverpool get very nervy,
make Liverpool quite nervy, but you always feel like Liverpool are going to score a couple.
Yeah.
So the only way Newcastle win this game for me is if they outscore Liverpool, and I don't know that they can do that. So just on that logic, I'm going to say Liverpool, but maybe 3-1. Newcastle to be in the game for a bit, but ultimately Liverpool
then
just
tire, and then Liverpool maybe to get a goal at the end,
polish them off.
Yeah.
That's what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, sounds good.
So any Super Sixers that me and Mark are currently battling each other in Super Six. So by all means, take our advice. We're rubbish. Well, I suppose that's covered off everything we wanted to look at this week. So. I suppose it's time to wrap up the show, Mark Annals.
Okay, yeah. So we've been Score to Follow podcast, and I just want to wish Neil and his wife good luck on the safe arrival of their new baby. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon.